little talk with us this time, do you love Jesus? It's a simple question. Do you love Jesus? If I wanted, or I was not shy, I would ask those who love Jesus to raise their hands. But I am too shy to ask that, because I believe it's a personal question. Jesus knows. But we are going to be unpacking what it is that you should or I should do. What are the things that show or don't show whether I love Jesus or not? Let's turn to the book of John 3, verse 16. Well, I know you're not going to turn because you know it by heart, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. We know that. We know the story.
Yeah.
That what? Whosoever believes. In there is a question. Do you believe? Do you know if you believe? You know, sometimes they say actions speak louder than words. Do my action show that I believe? We can all chorus that. We started singing it. Even the kids here, if I ask them, John 3:16, they can all say it. But have you reflected at a personal level? What does it mean to you? Let's go to another one here. John 13, verse 34 to 35. What does it say? A new commandment I give you, that you do what? Love one another. That you do that. Why? As I have loved you. Now, Jesus is declaring his love. First, he says God loved the world, he gave us Jesus. But Jesus is not coming as a passive one. He says, I have loved you. And now I give you a commandment. Do what? Love one another. But then he puts a rider on this. Let's look at the last section. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Do you see that he's just turned the table? My question was, do you love Jesus? But Jesus says, yes, love me, but love one another. Then I will know you love me. So now the question is turned around. It's no longer, do you love Jesus? Do you love your fellow man? Because it is in loving your fellow man that Jesus, before you even turn to other people, that Jesus will know you love him. And then beyond that, they, other people, will also know that you love him. And then, the last one in that series, it's not the last one in the Bible, there are many, but in the series that I picked, John 14, verse 15. Now it gets warmer. Do you see that? If you love me, you'll do what?
Keep my commandments.
Keep my commandment. Now we are getting closer. Remember the question. Do you love Jesus? And he says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. That is now, they say the test of the pudding is in the eating. Now we are going to have to test it. And this is the part where the exam comes in and everybody comes individually. What I have there is the tablet of the 10 commandments. You know them. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, love the Lord your God with yourself, and all of that. We are going to spend a little bit of time introspecting. Each one of us introspecting on the question, do I love Jesus? Do I love my fellow man? Knowing the prescription, you will answer, yes, I love Jesus. If what? You love your fellow man. And if what? You are keeping his commandments. Now, let's see who by the end of the sermon will be surviving with the yes. That's why I said I'm afraid to ask you. Because if I had asked you, do you love Jesus? I would have had to ask you, do you keep the commandments? Do you see that? I dare not. Because even if you asked me, I'm not so sure how I would answer. And I want us to, we don't have the time to go through all of the commandments, but we want to pick a few of them. Now, here is the caveat. Matthew 5, verse 90. Too bad that thing is not so good. I wish it was bright enough for us to be able to read this together. It says, therefore, whoever breaks even one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be considered a least in the kingdom of heaven. I'm not a theologian. I've heard theologians saying that least means they won't be there. I won't go there. I just stick with it as it says here. But whoever observes these commandments and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom. Matthew was kind. James is not so kind. James 2 verse 10. What does he say? For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Open it in your Bible, since you can't read my Bible that is so blurred up there. James says, whoever keeps all of them, keeps the Sabbath, comes in here, and does not steal, does not lie, but offends in one, he's guilty. And then he goes on in the next verse to say, for he who said, do not commit adultery, also said, do not murder. If you do not commit adultery, but do commit murder, you have become a lawbreaker. Did you hear that? It's getting deeper. Now the question comes back. Do you love Jesus? Do you keep the commandments? Are you a lawbreaker? You heard who James says a lawbreaker? If you break just one, you are a lawbreaker. If I break just one, I am a lawbreaker. So I'm inviting us to revisit the 10 commandments that we know. I'm inviting us to revisit them with that in mind, with that question. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And I'm talking to a church full of many members in good and regular standing, as we like to say in this church. Let's look at commandment number 1. We can chorus it, can't we? Says what? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. I could pick somebody random and say, what does it mean? I'm sure they'll tell you no. God doesn't want us to have anybody to call God somebody. Oh no, he was talking to the people in the Canaanites that time because they used to have other gods that they were forming around them. Where we have many ways. But I want to bring it to you that God is demanding exclusive space in our sight. And let's talk about our modern life. What is a God? Somebody who, when they snap, you come running, right? Because your God is higher than your master. Your master can come, hey, yes, master, I'm coming. I'm still tying my shoes. But your God, if you are delaying, he may just snap you. So, the gods that we have right now, when they call, we come running. Even if I was on the way to church and the God called that way, I turn and go the other side. Can somebody testify to that? One God, technology. You know that God? When it is time for me to Facebook, too bad the church said 7 o'clock prayer time, I am still somewhere. I am doing this. Even if the church said we should not do 1, 2, 3. I just talked about pornography there. We know, and we'll talk about that. But if technology says this is the trend, we go with trends, right, young people? Thou shalt not have other gods before me. Entertainment. How many have not come for Bible study in the afternoon because the Arsenal was playing? Or is it menu? Okay, the wrong people find it's Chiefs of South Africa. You get the point. Many of us are so much hooked to our entertainment. I just picked football at random, but yours could be something else. If there is some entertainment that you are supposed to go to, and that supposes you put it there, by the way, they will continue with or without you. Did you know that? Arsenal will keep playing even if you don't switch on. In fact, if you get somebody to download for you and record for you, you still find them playing. They don't stop. But some of us, we feel that if we don't show up, and so we don't come for Bible studies. Some will even go to church in the morning if it is the day for the final game. Do you have other gods before God? The list is endless. I could pick one there. Relationship. Do you know that some of us worship our spouses? Or our girlfriends or our better half, whatever name we give. Why didn't you come for youth meeting? My boyfriend said we should. Because your boyfriend called. You couldn't come. We were waiting for witnessing. I can't do that because my girlfriend said. My mother-in-law said. As there are relationships in our lives that we have put ahead of God, that we cannot do God's bidding because the relationship will be in jeopardy. Isn't it Jesus who said, I've come to bring a sword to separate a mother from a daughter? Remember that verse? Yeah. He is saying these relationships sometimes can become gods for us. Moving on. Money. Now we are getting somewhere. Is it possible that for my job, I may lose heaven? After all, what does God expect? This week, when we were training, he asked a very, very, very interesting question. He says, what are we saying? Because we were talking about, by the way, condoms, and I was saying to them that as a church, we understand implements that are developed by whoever there, but we are not there. We know a simple one, that God says no to adultery. He doesn't say, don't steal, but if you steal with gloves in your hands, it's fine. You get the point? Because he was saying, now, Dr. Sikwa, what are you saying? Because as a young person, this is much better. If there are the gloves that are being used, it means I won't get disease, and it means I won't get removed from the church books. And I said to him, it's all well and good to stay in the church books, but the books of heaven are very clear. Gloves or no gloves, thou shalt not. So, is our need for money strong enough for us to break the commandments? Because if we get to that point, then money has become our God, because it is ahead of God. You see that? So the question that we are having there is, do you love God enough to give him first place above any of these? I said, I'm afraid to ask. Let's skip to another commandment. I won't have the time to go through all of them, but I picked a few. Let's go to number 3. We know it. How does it say? Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. When I grew up, we were told, no, it means that don't swear by God's name. All of us have got our own interpretation. I want to bring to you a different one in case you haven't heard that one. How about calling yourself a Christian and not living like one? Did you realize that you just took the name of the Lord in vain? Because every time somebody looks at you, they that is Adventist, that's how they do. We take the name of the Lord in vain when we are hypocrites. When people go out there and they say, if she is going to heaven, then I'll also enter. Have you heard that comment? These are the people who give church a bad name. You heard that one? I will go to any church except that one. Even devils go to church. But I don't call myself a devil. I call myself a Christian. That I put to you is taking the name of the Lord in vain. Remember, if you love me, keep my commandments. And the commandments say, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. I want to show this point. It says, taken to court and you are accused of being a Christian, will there be enough evidence to convict you? Do you hear that? If they are accusing you of being a Christian, is there enough evidence to convict you? Some of us will go free. And that's not a good thing. If the accusation is that you are a Christian and you can be discharged. Let those who have ears hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Matthew 15 verse 8 says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. God forbid that you and I be these people. Because if you and I are these people, we are not going to be saved when Jesus comes. We are not keeping the commandments. Let's skip to another one. The others you know, stealing, you know. Let's do number 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. We know that, and as Adventists, I put it to you that we love to enforce this one. I often ask, and I will take the chance and ask these churches that are here, I'm told there are more than one church. How many of you have ever participated or sat in a disciplinary session in church? Whether you are a board member or if there's the church at large where somebody is going to be disciplined. Quite a few. Let me take a guess. You were disciplining somebody for telling a lie, right? And the commandments say, thou shalt not bear false witness. How come we are not disciplining for that? Okay. You are disciplining somebody for taking the name of the Lord in vain, right? I'll guess. They must have broken this one, right? Yes. Chances are they broke this one. Because as a church, we are very diligent to enforce this one. And chances are they were a young girl. They may be a man, yes. But more often than not, was a young girl. Why? Because we have evidence. That's what I've heard. We have evidence, you know. Even if I misappropriate church offering, that's still not evidence enough. So we know this commandment. That's the point. My question today is, do we keep it? Never mind the young ladies that you're discussing. Now I want to ask you and I. And let me go deeper. Jesus says, but I tell you, that's Matthew 5 verse 28. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Did you hear that? Jesus just went deeper. It's not about the act, it's about the heart. And I put it to you that if you spend time watching pornography, you are guilty of this. Because this is what Jesus is saying. What is it that you are doing when you are watching pornography? You are watching, this week we learned about dopamine and about how we get our fix from watching, seeing, hearing, touching. If you would do that, you want to watch and watch because it gives you the release of dopamine. And by the way, it is the same dopamine that creates the problems with adultery for us. Because people keep wanting to get that feeling. And now you can get that feeling without indulging. That's why Jesus is saying that. And I'm saying to you scientifically. Jesus is saying when you look at the woman and you exercise that in your mind to the point where your dopamine is being released, you've done it. Because the whole point of the act was for the dopamine to be released. Do you get that? So scientifically, he is right. Therefore, when he says, thou shalt not commit adultery, we are not just looking at the young ladies who come and come pregnant. Of course, we should deal with that. Of course, we should also deal with the people who got them into that stage. But I want us to get in deeper and say, as Jesus puts it, he says it's not just the act. It is much, much more than that. In fact, I want to leave it to you to say, Hebrews 13 verse 4 says to us, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. If for whatever reason you find yourself falling into this category, it is in your interest, as they say, to cease and desist. Because God is not pleased. He has said it in so many ways, in so many places. And I could put you here the whole day, quoting verse after verse. It's one of the most quoted or echoed sentiment in the Bible. Beyond the 10 Commandments, God talks incessantly about adultery. Both adultery in spiritual sense, as in churches, and adultery in physical sense. And yet, it is one of those sins that, unfortunately, we seem to be falling so much on. I work in that space. And we work with numbers and figures. And we work with research. There are many studies that have been done where we collect data from population, including here in Zimbabwe. And one of the questions that sometimes is asked is about your denomination. In several countries where that has been asked, it is unfortunate to note that our clergy, and this is not just the Adventists, the clergy, the pastors, seem to be the ones that are more guilty of this. That's unfortunate. You've heard it of other churches, right? You will hear about how this problem is there in the clergy. In fact, one research that was being done, apparently in some nameless place, they were leaders of the faith who had gathered together, including ours, for a seminar. The hotel reported a jump in more than 60% of visits to pornography websites for having housed the men of God. We have a problem. There are reports that are showing that in some countries, I won't say Zimbabwe because I haven't seen the data for Zimbabwe, but in other countries that I have seen, Adventists are leading in divorce, in adultery, in infidelity. That's a bad place for us to be leading in. And this is why I'm saying to us, my brother, my sister, if you are falling in that category, in God's name, cease and desist. Because that is wrong. And remember it said, if you keep all others and you find offending this, maybe you are one of those that all 9 you are perfect, but this is your point. We just read it together, right? James, if you offend in this one, you are a lawbreaker. And I want to say to us, Jesus did say, love one another as I have loved you. So I put it to you. How can you say you love your brother when you are breaking his family? Do you know that in your saying, I love her, but she is married to somebody else, you are not showing love to your brother? So if you can't think about yourself, think about the brother, think about the children, because when that family breaks, children are going to be victims too. Think about all the other people that are involved in this. And for the record, God is omniscient. He knows everything and he sees everywhere. Did you know that God can see in the dark? For whatever reason, when we want to sin, we close the curtains, we switch off the lights, and we just feel our way around. Hey, God can see in the dark. In case you didn't know that. So God knows. Second point. Jesus said, by loving one another, they will know. That means non-Christians, right? They will know that you are mine. I put it to you. You are a married man. Why are you breaking the future of the young lady? Is that love for your fellow man? If you love one another, why are you hating his daughter in the name of love? young lady that we are going to sit in church and remove from the church books, their future is so gone. Now she moves from being a young lady to being a mother. From now on, her life is changed. Even if she later gets married, she will always bring somebody. You know that. The story of her life changes. And you say you love one another? If we love one another, we will protect the children, even those of our neighbors. Every child that you meet is your neighbor. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan? Who is my neighbor? Who is your neighbor, my brother, my sister? Young ladies who are envying people's cars, envying people's success, and wanting to be written into the story of their success. You are not loving. The commandments say, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Let's move to the other one. Number 8. Don't worry, I have just 2 more, it will be done. Thou shalt not steal. We know that one. We don't break people's homes. We are good, well, God-abiding citizens. The law will not take us. But did you know that beyond the step that we know, there's fraud? Did you know that committing fraud is stealing? What about you people who like to take other people's ideas and run with them and go and make your business? You just stole an idea. You just stole a future for somebody. Did you know that? How about copyright? There are a lot of people who could have made it better, but then you heard the song and you went and you made money out of that, and you never even gave a cent to the person who created the song. Did you know that's stealing? Copyright is stealing. How about using dishonest means to go ahead? You are stealing opportunity. So this commandment is talking to us about internal attitude. It's addressing the heart. It says, do not make yourself and your needs be more important than other people's, to the extent that you will take something that was due to them without their permission. Did you hear that? If you read it that way, it will begin to bring a lot of things home that we could stay the whole day there. So in other words, if you block the progress of somebody, in this church you've got the pulling him down syndrome. You know she's about to be chosen to be a deacon, and you start spreading rumors to make sure she's pulled down so you can become the one. Don't bring me up in terms of session and votes and the like. Let's not get there. Somebody, those who have ears, let them hear. If you block the progress of somebody, you just stole, because you know that in this person being pushed down, then I'll be lifted up. And you just took the position that you know may not have been yours. That is stealing. That is breaking the commandment. Did you hear that? Do you love Jesus? If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Moving on, number 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness. How many of us we don't lie? Of course, until I'm driving and you want to know where I am. Oh, I'm just passing Butara and I haven't even left my house, right? But it gets deeper. When you gossip, when you backbite, is it true, the thing that you are spreading? If you don't know for a fact that it's true, did you know you are bearing false witness? There are some of us who live for the story. When you receive information that is even more surprising than anything you've ever imagined on your WhatsApp, and you forward it to as many people. Hey, what are you doing? Did you know you are bearing false witness? Especially when that information you are forwarding is going to disadvantage somebody somewhere. Then we all start, you didn't know. This is what happened, and you are talking to them. I know because I read it. It was like everybody knows. It's on the Facebook. It's there on social media. Is it true? If it are bearing false witness. You realize that? God, when He calls us to watch the commandments, He's calling us to be conscientious of everything that we are doing. It says it prohibits creating false impression through silence. If somebody is being beaten and everything, and you are silent, you are not stopping it, you are helping it spread. Some of us are guilty of not stopping the rot in our churches or in our communities. You can bear false witness by insinuation. And I say to you, in HIV and AIDS, we learned that. No stigma and discrimination. You see somebody has been losing a lot of weight, you say, hey, have you seen how much weight she's losing? How's wrong? I think she has AIDS. In your words, I think. The other person, they said, I am AIDS. Next thing they go and say, hey, you know, Jane, I've heard she has AIDS. Yeah, I've been seeing how she's been losing so much. And she's been so sick. And then it goes around. Poor Jane doesn't have AIDS. Now everybody's stigmatizing, everybody's discriminating against her. And now nobody wants to deal with Jane because you think she has AIDS. And now everybody knows she has AIDS. Do you see how it works? Let's see what the Bible says. Matthew 7 verse 12. In everything, then, do to others as what? As you have them do to you. How would you like it if you had a topic? None of us likes to be the topic of slander or whatever, no matter how small. Do to others what you have. And Jesus is saying, love your brother the same way you would like to be loved. And I wish that thing could be seen there. And it's terrible with this one here. It's a quotation from Gospel Workers, page 444, chapter 3. I'm just going to paraphrase that. And now I'm starting with this one here. Mrs. White says, floating rumors are often, don't go. Floating rumors are often the destroyer of unity among the brethren. There are some who watch with open mind and ears to catch flying scandal. They gather up little incidents which may which might be troubling in themselves. Why have you guys made my thing disappear like this? I can't even see here. But then going forward, it says these people, their motto seems to be report and we will report it. This is the spirit of prophecy. And I'll just jump on to the end there. It says that the door must be closed in the church against they say, I have heard. And he says, if I'm going to paraphrase now, if the people who are so busy spreading all of this were busy spreading the gospel, Jesus would have come. Amen. Can you imagine? So, let's jump to number 10, and we are going home. Thou shalt not covet. I put it to you that covetousness is the root of all sins. You commit adultery because you coveted. You steal because you coveted. You will lie to bring him or her down because you coveted something they had. A lot of this we can bring them down to covetousness. So, if there is ever a commandment for us to watch, it is this one. I like what Timothy is putting to us, because even Paul says that he's contented in all things. So the measures here is, if you are going to avoid stepping off on this one, learn to be content. Learn to be content with what you have. If you are single, be happy in your singleness. If you are married, enjoy your partner. Be happy in that. If you have got a small 2-room house, be happy in that. If all you can do is walk, be happy in that. Do not covet. And I like this thing from 1 Timothy. It says, now godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is Satan that will carry nothing out of it. Did you know that? The many things we covered, which are putting a bridge between us and God, which are going to make us to lose heaven, we will not even take them with us to the grave. You know that when you die, when I die, they make a small little box. They put you in there. At least with the Egyptians, they used to bury them with their treasure. Nowadays, the relatives will be remaining, fighting over all those things that you lost heaven over. You know that? You are busy not doing what God expects you to do. You are busy breaking the law for the sake of material gain. But one thing is sure, you and I know it for sure. Sooner or later, we are going to be dead. And when they bury you, when they bury me, they will find a small box. I would like it is a casket. They will dig a small hole. It won't even be deep enough. It's deep enough for someone to get in and be able to get and put it, and they will cover you in there, they will cover me there. They won't even put a single thing. If I'm lucky, they may bury me with my wedding ring, but they may call it an heirloom and keep it for my next daughter. They won't even take your cell phone in there. We want your cell phone to remain. Do you realize that? Nothing. The same way that we were born totally naked, as Job says, naked I came in this world. We are going to live like that. Ask yourself, is it worth it then? Is all these things then worth it? When Jesus was asked, which is the greatest commandment, what did he say? Matthew 25, he said what? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment. And the second is like this. Love your neighbor as yourself. And he says, if this is what? The law and the prophets. Love. But I hope that we have unpacked the commandments, because I come to this point where Jesus is saying, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice, I will open and come in and sup with him. So, I come back to you. Do you love Jesus? Are you keeping the commandments? And I'm going to be singing, and I would like you to be thinking about this, because at the end of the song, I will make a call. I need you to start thinking about all the things that we've talked about. Now listen to the words of this song. I dreamed that the great judgment morning had dawned, and the trumpet had blown. I dreamed that the nations had gathered greatness was found. Oh, what a weeping and wailing as the lost were told of their fate. They cried for the rocks and the mountains. They prayed, but their prayers were too late. They cried for the rocks and the mountains. They prayed, but their prayers were too late. Oh, what a weeping and wailing as the lost were told of their fate. They cried for their rocks and the mountains. They prayed, but their prayers were too late.
Amen.
Now, I ask you, where would you like to be when Jesus comes? Would you like to be among those who are going to cry for the rocks and the mountains, but you know it will be too late to pray them? This is the time when you make the decision, when Jesus is asking you, do you love me? Would you like to come into, you like to let me come into your life? You've just heard us expound on the 10 Commandments. Is it your desire by any chance that now that you've heard, when you leave from here, by God's grace, you would like to keep the commandments, so that when He shall come, you will not cry for the rocks and the mountain? If that is your prayer, please stand up as you're going to be praying. If you would like